Nova Kooks.
Hello. We need just a few moments
A
of your
fall
time.
Saturday morning in a rocking chair by a wood stove.
I could spend a few hours there. Sharkadoodle-doos.
Are you recording?
Yeah,
Where are those guinea pigs?
I've been Josh this whole time.
the whole time.
The whole time.
Thanks, man. It's been great having you be Josh the whole time.
Authentically yours.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
Welcome, listener. You're listening to Nova Kooks. We are four East Coast surfers that don't take ourselves too seriously when it comes to surfing or other things. Hence the name, the Nova Kooks. In this podcast, you'll hear us talk about surfing on the East Coast of Canada and hear some funny surf stories from our inexperience along the way. Our podcast is meant to not only take you on our surf journey, but to also explore personal growth, adventure, and the world around us, including pop culture and other topics. Thanks for joining us today. We're wrapping up our first season as the Nova Kooks. We're going to look back on how far we've come since the podcast was a dream to finishing our 12th episode, and we'll dig into some individual goals and surf goals that we will be working on. We'll leave you having identified our target goals and kick off season 2 with details on how we achieved them or why we didn't. As always, we'll finish the episode off with a question from Charles. But before we begin, allow me to introduce the other Nova Kooks. I am Jared, and I'll be your host. I'm seated with Charles, Josh, and David. Hey, fellas.
What up?
Hi there.
Jared.
I have several questions I want you to consider.
To start off the episode, our warm-up question is, as this is the season finale, let's reflect. Name one thing that you said that you wish you could change, or maybe something we as a group should have done differently. And, sort of a two-parter, share what your favorite moment has been while putting this whole thing together. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. Can I go first?
Yeah,
Is
Dave.
that okay?
Dave.
Yeah. Something that I would change. I believe that was part of it.
That was the first one.
Yeah. Now, I would say that there's not much that I would change. But here's the one thing that I've thought about a little bit, and I wouldn't change it, but I would kind of maybe alter maybe a little bit. We were talking a lot about getting out surfing, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, and I still believe that. I don't believe you have to have all kinds of top end gear to get out and enjoy yourself surfing. I truly believe that, so I don't take that back. However, what I would do, I would amend it a little bit and also say we need to support our local surf shops as well. And I've thought about it a little bit. Like, I do think that we should get wetsuits and stuff for cheap. And if that's what's holding you back, get the cheapest thing you can and get out there. I think we would all agree with that. However, I do also think, aside from that, I would really say that I'm so appreciative when I can get in my car and whip to the local surf shop and pick up some wax. And there's nice people there with good advice.
Yeah.
And it's a local business. It's a local person. And they're there with a smile. And they've got good gear. And so I guess I would just add on, like, I do believe in supporting local businesses and keeping money in the community.
I think that's also, just to sort of comment on what you're saying, I think that as Nova Scotia grows as a surfing community, these shops are slowly getting more accessible. For example, we have a shaper that's in one of the shops now, and I feel like there are more shapers. I keep hearing about more people experimenting and learning and selling boards. It's slow, but there's Black Tuna Surfboards, which is in the Lawrencetown Surf Shop now, and I think he has his own shop as well, or his own workshop studio. I don't know what shaping hut,
Shaping Bay.
yeah, I don't know. But also I've noticed that Cannon Beach has started selling more soft tops for the more accessible crowd, and or for more, for beginner surfers and stuff too. And that's the thing that like, I was really impressed when I saw that just went up a couple weeks ago. Again, we're recording at the beginning of the summer season. And, that was like a really smart move for them because, you get the more box store decathlon, which is very accessible for getting cheap gear to get out there right away.
I love decathlon. Yep.
Yeah. And some of us have purchased a lot of surf gear from them recently because it's accessible and cheap. But, like you're saying, like it is important to be patient with the shops as they...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll say, especially if you're like in the market for a used surfboard, I mean, if you go to, Cannon Beach or like the Lawrencetown Surf Shop, that becomes like an option available to you. And like when I first started, like I went out to Cannon Beach and they just like totally geared me up with, affordable options. And in terms of like a wetsuit, like potentially cheaper than you would get like at Decathlon. So,
well, yeah. And that's what Cannon Beach does is they definitely lead you towards their sales rack of last year's wetsuits. Like right away when they, when you're saying like, I want to get into this, they're like, well, let me show you these first, which is what they did for me. Like my first wetsuit was last season's model for a couple $100 cheaper. And I thought that was great.
And it's also just like the shared knowledge where you can just like go in there. And I remember like my first time like going in, I said like, I'm interested in surfing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, what do I need and what do you recommend? And, they spent like a good half an hour just like going over what will be a good setup for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't take back any of our sentiments of like,
no,
don't let cost get in the way. I totally believe I'm firmly rooted in that. However, I do also think it's an amazing thing to have these great people and shops and products and art and I do believe in keeping that around, and the way to keep it around is to support them the best you can if you can.
Yeah.
And so that's the only thing I would add.
For sure. And whether it be like the shops or, in a lot of them do rentals, or the surf schools, like those are locally run companies. And that's like a very affordable way in terms of like checking out surfing,
Totally.
like doing that rental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, not to drag this on, but in terms of like not spending a ton of money, I think that if I reflect back on what we mentioned, the most prominent thing was really that you don't have to have every piece of gear to get started. It's like rent some stuff. And those are local businesses that are doing the rentals. So there's a check mark. And then like maybe just get a wetsuit so you have more accessibility to be able to go when you want.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things. So, but yeah, totally support the surf shops.
Yeah.
I went to Cannon Beach and got everything from boots, gloves, hat, board, wax, paddleboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're lucky to have them. So I thought
we
about
really
it one
are.
day and I said, did we touch on that enough?
And you know what? I remember hearing during the pandemic how hard they were struggling. Like not struggling. Well, maybe they were. Yeah, they were having a hard time because it was a really weird time because they weren't supposed to, they weren't allowed to be open. And I think it's a tough business in Canada, especially like when the pandemic started in March. Like that's a hard season for them to live through. So yeah, support your local surf shop.
Yep. So I know that took a lot of.
No, that was.
But it was a genuine thing that I was like, oh, I don't know if I touched on that.
Who wants to go next? Something that you would change if you could.
Some of the feedback I got when we first started was like, hey, I like what you're doing. I'm not super into surfing, but like it's great to hear people I know doing something creative, putting something out there. And I was like, yeah, cool. Thanks for listening. And as I reflect back and I look at the episodes we have ready to go, queued up and all of that, I'm happy with the evolution. I feel like we're finding our middle ground. And so we didn't know what we were that well at the beginning. We knew we were based in surfing, and like we had these other ideas that we'd put in there kind of as like the icing on the cake or the flowers on the table.
I don't think that you like specifically realized how much we could actually talk about this topic too, though. Yeah.
I'd put that back on all of us. I don't think any of us knew that we'd still be talking about surfing on the 12th episode.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
But I like where it's going. The precursor episode to this one, I really enjoyed what it dove into, and I just think we're finding our middle ground. So, I don't have any regrets. I like the evolution, and I'm happy that we're past the first ones.
Sure.
And honestly, I think where we caught our stride, I don't even think those episodes have been released yet. So people have really only heard us in our infancy.
Yeah. There's only been 4 episodes released while we're recording this. Yeah. All right, Charles, is there anything that you would change or maybe something that we as a group should have done differently, in your opinion?
I mean, thinking back, I don't think there's anything that really calls out to me in terms of like we should have changed in terms of approach or content. And it'll be interesting to take a pause from this year and reflect and kind of see
How it goes.
if there are certain things that we do want to change moving forward.
Yeah.
But I was just happy that we did a certain amount of planning, but we really, I think, pushed forward with just starting to record and actually moved ahead on that in our timeline like faster than we had anticipated. So I'm glad that we just started doing it.
Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah. For me, this question kind of like makes me kind of go back to a couple weeks ago when, in our very first episode, we talked about what the word kook means. And most people in the surfing community know what the word kook means. And that was the first thing we addressed in our very first episode. And I just felt the word rhymes with other words that are derogatory and are completely inappropriate. And we all have used this word, in our everyday because like we make fun of each other. It's in our text group, and it's a surfing word. And when you look up the history of the word kook, it's actually what Hawaiian surfers called surfers that were being goofballs and not quite getting it right. We're kind of like making fun of ourselves for like trying our best to get it right. And it just felt right to call ourselves that as we're trying to get it right with the podcast as well. And sort of teaching others to, look like a goofball while you're just trying to do it, like get out there, get off the couch and climb that mountain or do that hike or skip that rope or whatever it is that you've been wanting to go do.
Skip that rope, man.
Yeah. But, recently, a couple weeks ago, somebody mentioned to me, asking me the question and how they were having a conversation and how the name kook sounds like a racist term. And I don't know. I wouldn't change anything that we've done and we've committed to this name. And those of you listening that are part of the surf community probably haven't even thought twice about our name. But I definitely, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's a shame that that people, because it rhymes with other things, are misconstruing it with something else. And I don't know. I think we're all pretty sensitive people and we don't ever want to offend anyone, and it's not an offensive term, but I guess it just kind of like hurts that people may think it is, and when it's not. I don't know how to more eloquently say it.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah. I mean, obviously no one in this room wants to say anything that is making anyone think any negative feelings about anything, and it wasn't meant to. And and it's not rooted in that.
It's not.
Any sense of the word, if you will.
I think it's important that the name is part of the message we're trying to convey, because you have to be a beginner to do anything.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to say. It's okay to be a beginner. In fact, it's awesome to be a beginner. Like, go out there and be a beginner at everything.
And you don't have to be good at your hobbies.
Yeah.
For it to be your hobby or your passion. You don't have to be the best at it. Yeah. So I know that that's not something, I don't want to change it. I wish I could change the world and All right, the second part of this, what's your favorite moment from putting all of this together? Dave?
Yeah, I'll go. I think just, not that you need a reason, but it's just been great meeting, having this on the calendar and coming in and spending, a few hours every week or every few weeks and talking about something that isn't work, or, it's kind of, you get to kind of take your head somewhere else and talk about something you love, or, think of things and opinions that maybe you didn't. And I think just sitting around a table and chatting is, it's great. I like talking about things
you
like this
yeah.
with dudes that are fun to talk to.
Yeah, I liked when it all started to come into fruition. The part that was probably my favorite was when we finally had like a social media presence, and then Jared started to put together these videos, and I was like, finally we had something to put out, and it was cool, and it was like, you know, we don't have tons of followers or anything, but
Became a tangible
It's a
thing.
thing.
it's tangible.
It's a
It's
thing.
fun to make the content. Like, it's a lot of work to make the content, but yeah, we created something from an idea of like making outlines on a piece of paper and turned it into something. And I usually have difficulty in believing at like those ideas at the beginning, seeing them through to a product. And here we are at number 12.
Cool.
Charles?
Yeah, I'll echo a lot of that, and just getting together once a week with some buds to talk about some topics that we're passionate about, but also that creative process where we all kind of offered our input and ideas, and that's what Jared's been shaping the episodes around. But it's actually been fun just to kind of like chat things out and revisit, I guess, our own personal histories, or learn more about each other when it comes to like surfing, or whether it be Point Break or different memories. It's it's been a blast.
Yeah, it's fun telling stories. Yeah. For me, I have like two quick ones. The first one is my favorite thing was when Josh and I came back from LA with Heat movie poster and signed
Yes.
David's book signed. That was a really good moment
So cool.
for me. I thought that was pretty cool, and I've been having a really hard time not spoiling it for some of my friends that are listening. I was talking to a good friend the other day, and he said, he was like, I was telling him a little bit about LA, and I'm like, I just don't want to tell you too much because we talk about it in an episode, and I know you listen. And he's like, oh well, it's fine. Tell me some. And yeah, it was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Speaking of that same conversation, this brings me to another like good moment is, you know, we all really have fallen in love with surfing. Whether, you know, one of us is a more fair weather surfer, but we all love it. And you can tell that. This is what my friend said. He's like, I can tell how much you guys like love and crave this. And, you know, it's almost like this, it sounds like you guys are talking about like a drug sometimes. And he's like, and it's not that you're trying to sell me surfing. But you make me want to go try it out because it just seems like such a healthy, amazing experience. And I was like, check, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
So,
good.
you know, and that was just a really good moment for me, is hearing the feedback from him, but hearing the feedback from everybody when people will like write us messages on Instagram, or, you know, I was at a birthday party and somebody was there like, Nova Kooks, that's awesome. You guys are doing a great job. And I was like, you're listening. Like, that's so cool. So it's kind of fun, you know?
Yeah.
No, I had someone send me a message yesterday. They'll probably hear this. Shout out. They said they want to see a contest where you can win and go surfing with Nova Kooks.
And show us up.
What a time.
Probably
What a
show us
time.
up. I was like, I don't know. Then you're going to know that I'm a terrible surfer.
Yeah. That's the best part, is that I'm like out there like just grinding surfing and like host a surf podcast.
That's the best part.
Awesome. That was great. Are we good? Move on?
Sure.
Yeah.
think so.
All right.
Next, please.
As you may or may not know, we have been pre-recording our episodes, and this episode was recorded in June. We have a new summer season coming up on the horizon here in Nova Scotia. Josh is a fair weather surfer, as I said before, or a 3-season surfer, as he likes to call himself. So he is getting really excited to surf more, but also where more time opens up for the rest of us, we're able to get out and catch waves and, you know, just get out on the beach on the water more. So guys, give me your main surf goal for this summer. It'll be cool to commit here and hold ourselves accountable with our listeners and pick up in season 2 with the Nova Kooks with the story of where that goal took our summers. Who would like to go first? Surf goal.
I can go.
Josh.
My surf goal has a subgroup. Main topic is, it's not really a skill. Well, I suppose it is. I want to work on staying relaxed, not getting worked up, not like fighting for it. I don't want to fight. I just want to be in it. It's like a wave's about to blast you. It's like you make your quick decision. Do you dive in? Do you grab the nose? Or do you grab the rails and go up over top of it? I don't want to be tense while I'm out there. So like that's my goal, is like finding comfort out there. Because I think once I find that,
Are you talking about the paddle out or like the whole?
the whole thing.
You're talking about grabbing the rails.
I mean,
That
I
makes me
am
sound like you're
focusing
talking
on the
about
paddle out
paddle
right now, because that can
Yeah.
be like, depending on where you're at, a beginner, it's traumatizing. Once you're kind of in it, it's like,
Once you start,
it is what it is.
Yeah, once you start going for those green waves. Yeah.
So I want to find that comfort quality in all of it. I don't want to be like fighting to turn around because I think that's my wave, and like paddling as hard as I can and just busting through the water instead of actually getting speed. So that's like the first piece. The second piece is the subgroup of that is I want to work on matching my pace to the wave so I can actually catch it. And in that, I mean like my stroke, my paddle, and not reaching and not pulling too hard, but getting the speed of the stroke to get moving.
To match the wave.
To match the wave. Thank you. That's the wording I was looking for. I'm going to work on being relaxed and my paddle.
Nice. Next, please.
So I mean, in general, I really just want to get out as much as I can with like every opportunity, and then hopefully progress from that there. But I do have a tendency to always want to go left rather than right, so I want to work on my right, and I'd love to get out to some new spots that I haven't been before, whether that be like local or the point at Lawrencetown, or there's actually a point break in Cape Breton and Donkin called Schooner Pond, but the conditions have to actually be very particular in order for that to work. So I always visit when I'm down there, but it's never really going off. But it kind of, and just surfing in Cape Breton, I know I'll make it to Point Michaud. So those would be kind of like my personal goals, but I am going to be teaching my nephew how to surf this summer, so that's exciting. And I have some friends visiting from Calgary that are looking to get out, so it'll be fun to get in the water with some new people.
Nice. That'll be fun. Awesome. That'd be great to like interview your cousin after or something. That'd be fun.
Season 2.
Or cousin, I mean nephew, rather. Yeah.
Did I say cousin or nephew?
You said nephew.
Said cousin, uncle, brother.
I think
And I've got some questions for you.
Dave, do you want to go or do you want me to go? Do you need more?
I would like to surf at a place I've never surfed before. So whether that be Point Michaud, that's been on my list for a while. I heard it's gorgeous. I've heard from you that that's a nice spot to visit. This new Donkin one, I've got questions about. That sounds amazing. But definitely venture South Shore-ish and check out some spots down there this summer when it's, those nice summery days. So that's definitely one. And then sort of more in tune with actual surfing.
Technique and skills.
Yeah, just more of the same. Like I just want to keep progressing. I think I really have been trying to, and I know that I'm not on a performance thruster surfboard, so this is not quite the goal for me, but I'm really trying to get some cutback turns to cut back into the power of the wave and then go back down the line. So I'm working that out. I've been looking at some YouTube videos on how to sort of use your arms and some twisting motions so I'm trying to get that into my little routine just so I can cut back and stay with the power of the wave instead of just going down the line and away from it. So those are my two sort of goals.
I'm glad you went before me because mine is going to connect a little bit with what you just said. I got two sort of goals. One is similar to what Josh said, or I guess Josh didn't really say it in the same way, but I really get in my head when I surf and I don't know what it is. When people are watching me, I get, I don't know, like psyched out. And, the other day, Charles and I went out and there was a group of people that were standing watching us, waiting to see us stand and catch a wave. And that was enough for me to get in my head and overdo everything. And I wasn't, I stood up a couple times, but then I quickly fell off, and it just really, I don't know. I get super psyched out. And this is something that I'm dealing with in my own life with things that I do. I get psyched out about things and overthink and care way too much about what people think about me. But I think that's one big goal that I'm going to continue to work on. And, when we were in LA, the surf coach kind of like talked to me about this a little bit too. And, so yeah, I'm stop overthinking it all and just surf, just have fun. And the other one is I recently purchased a surf skate attachment for my skateboard. You can find them, Dave, on Amazon. I've looked everywhere for something like this, but for where we are in the world, they have a cheap one on Amazon.
What is a surf skate attachment?
So it changes the truck. So I don't quite know yet. I haven't read the instruction manual. I was supposed to get it today, but it's coming maybe tomorrow. And I don't know if you switch your truck around or if you just it just lifts the truck differently so that you're able to pump more and work on your cutbacks. A skateboard, if you get the trucks loose enough, you can get quite a momentum without ever putting your foot down. And this is part of that, and that motion really helps you hold on, kind of dig into the wave. And you're talking about doing your cutbacks and turns, and that's one of my goals, is to start really being able to, like, a wave here in Nova Scotia, like the breaks that we go to won't carry you for very long unless it's like a bigger day. But I feel that if you're able to do this, you're able to hold on to that wave for much longer and get more out of it. And I'm personally wanting to level up and get to that point. And yeah.
And all this talk is making me want to go surfing.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Okay. Surfing goals are set. Let's dig deeper. What's a personal goal that you have that you hope to achieve or manifest by the fall?
Well,
do you want to go first?
Sure.
Kind of gone on
I
this.
can go. Yeah, this seems to be the direction we're going. So I've kind of been on my own little, I don't know what you'd call it, global health journey or something like that, I suppose. So not that long ago, I kind of revamped my diet again, and like also revamped how I'm going about my mental health and things like that. And so I have a goal that I would like to continue to get my body back into this place of vitality. So that's kind of a broad, weird goal, but like in that, it just means like you are focused on your well-being, and you're focused on, like, for example, if I made it super surface level, it's like I'd like to drop some weight. So like that's part of it. So that's kind of like my goal. Bring the vitality back into my body.
There you go.
Okay, I'll go. Summer goal. There is a hike in Cape Breton called Money Point, which I think can be done in a day, but it's a coastal hike it's in the Highlands, but it's on the eastern side of Cape Breton, and it's similar to Pollett's Cove. There's some wild horses. There's
cool.
I think an old lighthouse that you see. Looks like a fantastic trail, so I would love to check that out this summer.
Is that one's not as big as Pollett's Cove, is it? I remember hearing about this, and
it's
one or the other is.
I think it's different in that
Okay.
it's not like there's a cove to it or anything. But I think in terms of the duration or how difficult it is, I think it would be similar or on par with Pollett's. But it looks really cool, and I'm hoping to get to that there. And I mean, besides that, I mean, just coming out of I think we're coming out of the pandemic, just kind of doing a bit more traveling, whether that's leaving the province or just doing stuff locally, and just kind of getting back to doing more normal social things out and about, and hopefully see some music.
Yeah. I feel like Nova Scotia was a little bit delayed in opening up from, other places. Like when we were traveling, like other places seem to have relaxed way quicker than we have here. I think they were able to.
And we were
delayed.
fortunate in that there was a lot of stuff that we could do when it was much worse other places. But just in terms of kind of coming out of the pandemic and moving back towards a new normal.
Yeah, we were like in a different time zone in a way. Yeah.
Very cool.
David.
Yeah, summer goal. So I guess this is linked a little to coming out of pandemic. I feel like it's been very peaks and valleys when it comes to physical activity and exercise. So I want to kind of be a little more consistent, little less, way up and then way down and have those peaks and valleys. Just a little more consistent with the running and the biking and just being outdoors and obviously surfing. But on top of that, I feel like at 44 years of age, I feel like I need to start stretching. I don't stretch at all, ever, never have. And I feel like I'm reaching a point now where I think it's going to help me sustain and do the things that I love to do. So I've got a goal of, I'm probably not going to go to a yoga studio or a gym, and I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying it's probably not going to happen for me. But I know on the YouTube, there's wonderful yoga. I was doing a bit. Yoga with Adrian, and
I like.
She's fantastic, and there's a dog that does it with her, and she's just a cool person. It's the right blend for me of the physical, and it's got a little bit of the mental and the spiritual, which it is uniquely linked, but it's not overly so. So I can still
there's good beginner,
and there's like 10-minute ones before bed, and there's 20-minute ones. Like, I can find anyone to suit where I am and do it at home.
Yeah, she even has ones like if you hurt your back shoveling snow.
Yeah. There was one, it was like yoga for when you're angry. And I'm like, well, why would you not want to do that when you're angry? Like
yoga for your feet?
Yeah.
I've done some of that.
Yeah. So I would like to incorporate her into sort of my either morning or nightly routine so I sleep better and feel better and adds to my overall well-being.
Nice.
Yeah. That's very similar to mine. When I say like vitality, it's like I kind of had the same realization. Yeah. If I have these things I dream about doing in my life, and they all take time to get there. And if I don't get myself in check, my body's not going to be there to support me when I finally get there, either mentally or financially. So gotta play the long game with your body and your health.
Well, I kind of said it in my surf goal. That's something that I continue to work on, is getting out of my head and caring about what people think about me too much. Yeah, so it's definitely trying to stop caring so much about what people think and like letting that throw me off in things that I do. I don't want to trip up because of something silly like that being in my head. But as far as like a summer goal, similar to, well, I don't know. That's hard. There's so many things. And maybe that's part of my goal. Maybe that's part of what my goal should be. I'm thinking out loud here a bit. Is, I give myself a hard time. I'll write a to-do list and I'll be like, do a session with Adrian, do a yoga session with Adrian, go surfing, go biking, go for a run, do this. And I'll like write it down so that I hold myself accountable. And then when I don't get to it, for example, today, I wrote down run, and I was about to go run and it started raining, and then I got in my head and then I didn't go for a run. And, I think I want to let myself off the hook for things. I think that's going to be my biggest goal, is to just, enjoy all the moments, slow down, relax this summer.
That's a great goal.
Yeah.
You can't do everything.
No, but I'm definitely going to do all those things that I just said. Just maybe not.
Just so the listeners clear.
Not tomorrow.
I'll be doing all that stuff.
I'm going to do yoga and all the things, but all right. Well, it's that time again, and the last time for this season, for the always intriguing final question from Charles. Take it away, Charles.
This is Charles.
All right, so this week's question is a guest question. So it'll be a question, not from myself, but perhaps this is something that we could incorporate into a second season. If anyone is listening and they have a question that they would like us to discuss at the end of the podcast, they can certainly get in touch and let us know through Instagram or
YouTube comments, email novakooks@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, any questions you think would be cool for us to discuss, send them our way, and we'll use it during this year's segment. And this week's guest question comes from Josh I.
Oh, thank you, Charles. It's a great honor to take over for a second in this part of the podcast. So the question is to the group, if you had one tip for the listener, what would it be? So it can be something practical. It could be about mindset. It could be something that someone's given you in your life. If it's how you get the seed out of an avocado as your tip, then that's a great tip and share it for the listener. But one thing that you've held on to for your whole life, or for the last week, whenever you received this tip or thought of it yourself. I'll go first. Mine's a weird one. So quite a while ago, I shared that one of my favorite podcasts is Huberman Labs. Huberman Labs talks a lot about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is like changing your brain. So in September of 2021, so not quite a year, I started brushing my teeth with the opposite hand, and I made a rule with myself. I made a rule that I could not brush my teeth with my right hand any longer. So since September, every day, I have brushed my teeth every single time with the opposite hand and put the toothpaste on with the opposite hand. And I do all this stuff and like brush my teeth. And it's been since September. So like however many times that is, brushing 2 to 3 times a day. Yes, Charles.
So have you found like that has improved like the coordination with your other hand, or has that kind of had some other kind of weird side effects?
Great question.
I want to know why you're doing this.
I've noticed that I'm more outgoing, more interested in doing things, trying new things. I have gained dexterity in my left hand in terms of brushing my teeth. It doesn't feel awkward. It actually feels normal. And changed my mindset.
That's
changed my life.
I mean,
Brush your teeth
That's like
with
the
your left
backward
hand.
brain bite. Backwards brain bite.
I mean, but that's interesting in terms of like, you know, because like people that like suffer like strokes on a certain side of their brain, it is about kind of like rebuilding those pathways or like utilizing the muscles like on the other side to kind of like compensate for things that are lost. So it's interesting to think about how if you're kind of like building up this opposite side that you're not used to, the potential benefits or.
Oh yeah. I think it's made me a more confident person. No joke.
Confident or competent?
I'm not more competent, but I am more confident.
As I struggle to say the
No,
word.
it's just interesting. Like I've started to try different things just in life. I'm eating better, and I feel like that is the catalyst. That's one of them.
And just with that journey, like starting out, was it quite tricky, or were you almost like putting the toothbrush in your eye
Yeah,
or something?
It was really frustrating at first. Yeah, it was super awkward. It was like
Slobberfest.
Why are you putting that in your
like
ear?
toothpaste running down my face and down my arm, and like it was awkward at first.
And do you think about it anymore, or is it like
No, I go in the
automatic?
bathroom in the morning and I do it all with my left hand. Every once in a while, this register's like, oh yeah, you've been doing this for a while now.
Is that transferable where you could work a fork with that much easier?
I haven't
now,
tried that
or
yet, but maybe that's
like
the next piece.
next
play
step.
guitar the other way?
Yeah,
or-
maybe that's the next piece.
Oh, that breaks my brain trying to play the guitar the other way. Can't. Oh.
But yeah, so my tip, do something different. Brush your teeth with the other hand. Change your life.
I can go next.
Yeah.
So in terms of a tip and I mean, kind of the ethos and stuff that we discussed with this here podcast, the idea of like getting out and trying new things. If you're feeling anxious about doing something, I think like 2 effective ways of committing to doing it are kind of get someone to do it with you for the first time. Because I remember that the first time I wanted to go surfing, I had a friend that committed to going with me. So that kind of like helped me and kind of like pushed me to get out there. And you've also like, you know, we booked the lessons, so we were like committed to doing something. So that's kind of like that push. So even if you don't have someone to do or try an activity that you're interested in, just kind of like booking something, whether that's traveling or like planning the hike that's going to happen on this day. Just making that commitment to hold yourself accountable to something is always a great push in getting started.
That's actually a great one. I would add to that recently I saw this thing that said when you have that inclination to do something, so if it's try surfing or whatever, either take the action in that moment where you have the motivation to do it, to like book the surf lesson, or at the very least, put it in your calendar so the reminder pops up and it'll connect you to that original motivation, and it works. And on top of that, if you were brushing your teeth with your left hand leading up to that, I think the whole thing would just come together.
And
Change your life.
type it in with your left hand.
Yeah,
or write it
make
with
the
a pen
booking with your left hand,
or
yeah.
vice versa. If
Yeah.
you are,
Yeah.
I see where this is going. Very good.
David?
Mine's a little. I tried to pare mine down a little bit, but I think this is something. It was no advice anyone gave me, but I think it's something that I just learned along the way. I used to be just such a people-pleasing person. I would change my course if someone said, come and do this with me, but I had this goal that I had in mind. I'd go and do that thing just because that's just who I was. I'll say I am, but it's the way I was. And I think, I don't know if this comes, wisdom with age or whatnot, but I think just deciding who you want to be and the things you want to do and committing to them and saying yes to those things, but also saying no to the other things, and that it's okay. And you're not gonna hurt anyone's feelings. We're all grown ups. You can say no to something at the time, and that doesn't mean you're losing a good friend. But just putting yourself first, but not in a selfish way. In a good way. Like if you want to go surf in the summer, go surfing. Don't let anything get in the way. Like don't compromise so much that you're not doing those things. And then also make choices that allow you to do those things. And be okay with it. Be confident. I know myself, I need to go to bed early every night if I'm going to wake up and be good the next day. So I just do it. People make fun of me. They're like, what do you mean you're going to bed? It's like 8:39. I know me. I got to do that. Unfortunately, I can make fun of myself in that. That's fine. But that's just who I am. I need that. And that makes me my best self and makes me feel better. And that's more, and I'm better probably for the people around me. And I'm, so that's kind of, I know that's a lot, but
I like that. So would you say that if you have goals and the things you want to do, to be able to achieve them and stay true to yourself, you do have to be comfortable to say no, to carve out that time to achieve the things you want to do.
Yeah. You got, in order to do it, you just have to do it. And you got to, whatever comes with that, if people aren't with that, then you gotta keep just doing what you need to do. The right people will be with you.
It took me a long time to learn that, but
took me many, many years. But I'm kind of there, and I just have to. I'm not perfect at it, but I have to keep reminding myself. And
it's very top of mind right now because I feel like it's something I'm just coming into, and I'm curious, like when do you feel like you came into that confidence or awareness?
I don't know. I'd say in the last 5 years-ish or so. Like just
that's interesting because there's a slight age gap between us.
Yeah.
And that lines up with about where I'm at. And that's interesting.
Yeah. There'd be times when, I want to go do this running race or, like something that at least I told myself was important to me. But then like a night before, a friend would be like, hey, let's go do this thing. And it would be the worst thing to go and do before. And but I'd be like, well, I got that, like, put yourself first. I don't know. The friend will understand. People, we worry about so much of what other people are going to do and think. People are fine.
Yeah.
And they're going to believe in you and they'll be fine.
That's my biggest problem, man.
It's hard. And I don't say that any of this is easy. I'm just saying I'm kind of reaching my piece with it. Like,
it's funny. Oh,
go ahead.
That exact thing with a run has happened to me I've decided I want to do this 10K run. I'm signed up for the race. It's the next morning. I have to be there at 7:30. And like somebody's at me, keeping me up until like 1:30 in the morning. And I'm like, not receiving what I'm trying to convey, that I'm doing something that's important to me. I can't. And it just bleeds into what you want to do. And then you're tired, you're frustrated, you're upset with yourself because you're not achieving these things. And it's just this global issue of saying no, putting up some boundaries and remembering what you want to do that's true to you.
Yeah, there's got to be this line where, like, you know, people always say, like, you know, there's an importance in being selfless, but sometimes there's an importance in being, not to say selfish, but you said something that made me think, like, listen to your body, listen to what you need, and let that guide you. Like, I have a friend who's a doctor, and he once said that to me. He said, I was asking him questions about like something that was going on with me, and he's like, well, just listen to your body. Like, what do you feel, and what do you think your body needs? Like, maybe you just need more water, and like, you know, because we were talking about joint pain, and I was like, wow. And that's actually really quite prolific. Listen to your body, you know? But that's not my advice. Are you finished there, Dave?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So my kind of advice, I've said it. I said it once tonight already, and I've said it in our previous podcast. The whole sentiment of, you know, there's that video that stuck with me that I reposted recently of you know, your hobbies. You don't have to be good at your hobbies, and I'm saying that in like a way that, like, of course you want to do well at your hobbies and you want to be able to do your hobbies, but it's not instant, right? And I was reminded recently in Halifax, we had this really cool Vincent van Gogh gallery, Beyond Van Gogh, with these brilliant like artists took his work and made it like immersive. So it was projected on 4 walls and on the ceiling and on the floor. And it was this, you're in his art, and it was amazing. Not just like, you know, it was a big hit with all the kids, but it was an amazing thing to go see. Did any of you guys see it?
No, I wanted to check it out.
It was really incredible. I think it might still be on. I'm not sure, but anyway, there was one quote that came up on the wall, and it said, success, from Vincent van Gogh, and it said, success is sometimes the outcome of a whole string of failures. So that's kind of my advice is, don't get so hung up on getting it right all the time. And, you know, I tell my daughter this, she gets really frustrated right away if she doesn't get something on an activity or on something with school. And I can sympathize with her, because we all are like that. We want to get it right away. We want that instant gratification, but, you know, don't give yourself such a hard time. It's okay to fail. It's okay to not be so good at the things that you like to do. It doesn't mean that you have to stop liking doing them. Let yourself off the hook. And I should take that advice myself.
So 1 sentence each tip. Brush your teeth with your left hand.
Just do it.
Say no and yes.
Accordingly.
Don't be afraid to fail.
There you go. Nice.
Good question.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Well, I think that's a great way to wrap us up, guys. Let's put a bow on it, shall we?
Shark-a-doodle-doo.
Shark-a-doodle-doo. We've been the Nova Kooks. I've been your host, Jared Gates.
I've been David Roger.
Charles.
I've been Josh this whole time.
The whole time. Thanks, man. It's been great having you be Josh the whole time.
Authentically yours.
Take care, everybody. Adios.
Vaya con Dios.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the first season of Nova Kooks. Join us for Season 2 starting on November 7th for more kooky surf moments, beginner surf tips, music and movie talks, quirky questions from Charles. Let us know how you think we did. We really enjoyed sharing all of our quirky moments and kooky experiences with you. And don't be shy to share some of your tips of Nova Scotia, surfing, and anything else that we may have covered that came to your mind. We'd love to interact with you, the listener. So please get involved and write into @NovaKooks on Instagram or novakooks@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to include you in an upcoming episode. Thanks, and be well.
Sharkadoodle doo.
Sharkadoodle doo.